Okay, so this is part six of this video that I'm making. You know, if it's if you're, oh, I've lost and forgotten what I was talking about. Saying something really important. If you're, yeah, why I don't like foster care. I don't like foster care because it's about making money off people. But if you're taking children out of foster care and giving them to parents, and then using this as as an opportunity of making more money out of them, you know, making unnecessary visits, lots of unnecessary hassle, expecting them to just, you know, fall at your knees and do what you're saying. You know, if you're seeing children that are in foster care as your children, and you're just going to use this as an opportunity to make money. And I feel like I hate social services. I really hate social services because I think that that is what it is. It is a big money making scam. You know, if you think about poor countries and the you know the countries that don't have social services, and you know, okay, there's a lot of abuse, and I'm sure a lot of children do die over it, and it's sad. But to think that there's probably a lot of things that I think to pick on parents that actually don't need help. Maybe someone does and someone doesn't. And if I was God, I would love to do an experiment where, say, someone goes to the shops and leaves a child in the sleeping in a house for just 5 minutes, and you know, I'd love to set it up so that I get these random visits to just pop into the house when the mum's not there, and you know, have them ring the doorbell and then say, oh yeah, I'm just around the corner, and then just for her to come 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, and then for the social workers to realise that the child has been left alone in the house for 10 minutes. You know, if someone's got a big question mark on them and they're doing it alone, and say they find that, you know, they could use something like that as a way of like taking the child off them. Now I would love to see all the cases where children have actually been taken off the child for a reason, and then I would change something so that that one event that sparked off that event didn't happen, and I would have wanted to see what actually happens to that child. You know, this person has made a mistake. The child might have cried for a bit longer than she should have done, or you know, whatever. And maybe there was dribble all over her for 5 minutes, and she came back and, you know, she tidied her up, and everything was fine. You know, but say if social services would have caught that mistake and then taken the child off her, and then I would think, how much money has social services really been making off that one mistake that she made, and what would have actually happened if the child hadn't been taken off? You know, how many all these people that have been taken and put into foster care, there's loads of them, and there shouldn't be this many, because this is not an accurate reflection on how bad mothers are, or how bad parents are. And you know, how many of these kids would have actually gone through a huge amount of suffering if they hadn't have been taken into foster care? You know, is foster care, was it really necessary? And I think only God could know that, because God could sort of play with the timeline and play, you know, try and change events to see what would happen. And the thing is, there's so many that I can't do it to all of them. But if I've done it with 10 of them, and I find that a lot of the kids out of the, you know, I'd probably take 10 samples and say, I'm going to play with the life so that they don't end up in foster care. And then I'll just like monitor and see what they're doing. You know, if it turns out that the parents aren't as bad as what social services are making out, and if foster care was completely unnecessary, you know, I would be furious at social services for doing this. And right now I feel anger. I feel anger towards social services, and I don't really know why, because I've had a bad experience, yes, but is that just because I'm God and I'm inspiring things, and I probably shouldn't have a kid because I need time to? I don't want to even say that, because that kid could easily be sitting in a playpen while I'm doing all this. So I just, you know, but with me, I have to take myself out of it, and look back and think, how is other people? And because it's so much secrecy, you're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to, you know, you could go to court, you could go to prison or something for revealing things that are said in these joke courtrooms. They are jokes. They are joke courtrooms. That's what I think. I don't even see it as a serious court. I just see it as people trying to make out that it's a serious court so that they can make money out of the lawyers and the judges. And you know, all these meetings cost money. They cost the government huge amounts of money. How much of it is actually necessary? And I think very little. And it's annoying, because there's a huge amount of people that are broke and poor, and they have to pay a huge amount of tax money, and I'm sure a huge amount of tax money goes towards childcare in this way, and how much of it is actually necessary. I think that would be a reflection of my anger over social services, and I see them as dumb. I see them as dumb people who can't tell the difference between good and bad parents, and some people that just waste time wasters, and people who think that they're doing what's right when really they're just making, they're not. And that's how I feel about them. And I'm wondering if I'm meant to feel this way about them because my higher self has played about with the timeline, and is seeing that there's a lot of kids in foster care that didn't really need to be in foster care. And then to get them back, you can't just wait a few months. You have to wait years. And they'll tell you though it's a few months, just a few more months, just a few more months, and they'll play on people's emotions, and the possibility of getting the child back. And like my sister, she was so convinced that she was going to get it back this summer, and then it turned out to be September. And then I spoke to the partner, and they were like, "Oh no, it'll be next year." I know, but I'm sure you said last year that it would be next year, and he's kind of taking it year by year, which is, I think, how you should play it. If someone fails a test, you say, right, you've lost contact. You can see the child once a week, but you've lost contact for a year, and then we'll do another test, another sort of test, and you don't need to do a 6-week test. You just need to get a spiritualist in there to sort of gauge how good a person is with the child. You just need to have someone who can sense what a person's like, and their concern over the child, and their attention, and you also need to see them, I think, for a good 4 hours, to just monitor what they do in that 4 hours. But I would actually set it up as a say you'll do the test on this day, and then beforehand you just say, well, there's going to be a 2-stage test. So there's just going to be like initial person who's just going to give feedback for the proper test. So you make out that the proper test is on this day, and then you say you send someone up for 4 hours on this day, who's just going to do an initial, like a brief. This person's not very important, but of course that one is actually going to be the important one. You can cancel that one, forget about that one, but make the person feel like that they're not being tested. That's important to make them, because if they feel they're going to be tested, they're going to be doing everything right. They're going to do what my mum does and just spend weeks tidying up the house to make it all perfect, when really she just lives in a mess house the majority of the time. But if you test them when they don't think they're being tested, or when they think it's not that important, that's how you know. I did that with my sister. I was judging her, and we had an argument, and she left, and she kind of didn't come back for ages, and just like, yeah, this is not good. I mean, if you really had an argument and didn't want me there, you'd take the child and say, you know what, I don't need you. That's how I felt Marco was treating me. I wanted to do night feeds, and I was I said the first night, I'm definitely going to do night feeds. Just wake me up at 2 o'clock. And he said he did, but he said it was more of a whisper, and I didn't wake up. But I felt like he didn't want me to have the responsibility. He wanted the responsibility for himself, because he didn't feel he wanted to push this responsibility on me. And that's a sign of a good parent. I did do a feed in the second night, but I actually had to put the alarm clock on myself, and I had to go and get the baby, because I knew he wouldn't give it to me. So yes, but yeah, I just what did